Welcome to Early Childhood and the Bible, where I empower Christian parents to reclaim their God-given role as primary spiritual leaders and educators of their children. I'm Ann Livingston, an early childhood educator of over 20 years and a lover of Jesus and His Word. And I'm here to come alongside you with biblical encouragement and practical tools so you can lead your children's hearts, minds, and spirits with confidence. In a world that's pulling hard for your child's attention, you have been entrusted by God to shape their faith, their values, and their worldview. Here you'll find simple ways to weave discipleship into your everyday life, model a vibrant walk with Jesus, and guide your children into their own relationship with Him. You don't need a degree, a perfect home, or all the answers, just a willing heart and the Word of God. Let's take back the role God has entrusted to you and raise up the next generation to love Him and live for Him. Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Early Childhood and the Bible. And today I just want to do a little bit kind of like of a catch-up episode, share a couple little stories from my tutoring, and then next week we will get into kind of some more in-depth topics. But if you've been following this podcast since the beginning, then you realize that it's been a couple months since I have released an episode. Part of it was intentional, part of it was unintentional. So one of my sets of parents came to visit in November, and I was still releasing during that time, and then I just kind of hit overwhelm trying to play catch up with all kinds of things. There were a lot of things going on at my job that I was working at part-time. And then the Lord called me out of that job and allowed me to really fully step into like fully being an entrepreneur, and really focusing on the things that He has called me to do. And teaching is really one of those things. Obviously, I teach through tutoring, but then I also teach through YouTube videos and obviously these podcasts and whatnot. And so I want to bring high value episodes to you. And part of it was that I was needing more time to really read and research and spend time with the Lord and really listen to what it is that He is wanting me to bring, what it is that He's wanting me to teach on and expand on and educate on, and all of those things. So I allowed myself to just kind of take a break during the holidays. And then I had my other set of parents were here for a month, which was fantastic. It really has been an answer to prayer. I've been praying about just some things in my family for a while. And so this was a real blessing to get to spend a month with them. And then my first set of parents, they're coming back again in February. So I am going to, my goal is to batch record so that I won't have gaps of time again that I'm not releasing episodes. So I apologize if you have been waiting or thinking, I wonder whatever happened to her. I'm still here. But there has just been a lot of transition. So I just kind of wanted to share briefly what was going on there. When it comes to the work that I do with children, I have really seen, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I already knew this. I've already practiced it in teaching and tutoring and just in how I engage with children. But I have seen it even more and more now, and it just solidifies the importance of communicating with children and allowing them the space to communicate with us. So one of the little boys who I tutor, truly in general, his behavior is really good. There are moments where like the frustration kind of gets the best of him, and then I start to see him act out in certain behaviors. Nothing extreme, nothing that's really honestly all that hard to manage. It's just disrespectful. So I'm trying to just teach him early on, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to feel feelings. it's not okay to be disrespectful in your feelings, right? So from a biblical perspective, it's okay to have feelings, to feel feelings, but it's not okay to sin in your feelings. But sometimes children, I think oftentimes actually, children just need the space to be able to express their feelings. So I've had this now multiple times with this one child. And this last time that I was working with him, I sensed the frustration start to rise in him again. And so before it got to just blatant disrespect or just completely shutting down, I said, let's just pause, take a minute, take a deep breath. What's going on? And he didn't communicate right then. And honestly, he didn't even necessarily want to communicate, but I could tell that on some level, he wanted me just to acknowledge that he was having feelings and that I saw that, right? So it's like he just, in many ways, he just needed to know that he was seen, that I saw him, that I saw the frustration, that I saw the emotions arising, and that I wasn't just ignoring them. So I asked him, well, I just said, I see that you are experiencing emotions. I see that you have feelings around this. Do you want to communicate them to me? And he said no. And I said, okay. So I never force children to, I never force them to communicate with me. I never force them to tell me what's going on. I have found that when I develop a solid relationship with a child and have built that trust over time, usually they will communicate with me. But I never force it. Even if I have a really good relationship with them and even if trust has already been built, I mean, that's like any human experience, right? Sometimes we want to talk about it. Sometimes we don't want to talk about it. It's the same thing with children. So he didn't want to tell me what was going on. And then I asked him, do you just need me to know that you have feelings? I said, I understand you don't want to talk about it. You don't have to talk to me about it. Do you just want me to acknowledge that you're having feelings that you don't want to talk about? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that you have feelings, but you don't want to talk about it. And then almost instantly, his behavior changed. And all of a sudden, it's not that he wasn't frustrated anymore. I could tell that he was still frustrated, but he was no longer disrespectful in his frustration. And then at that point, he was ready and willing to work on the task at hand together. So I know that a lot of times as adults, whether we are the teacher, whether we are the parent, it's really easy to want to try to power through and push through. But I have seen time and time again that usually when I try to do that, it often makes things worse. However, you know your child best. So, because I also have a student who I work with that if I were to do that, it would actually make things worse. So I have this other child who also pushes boundaries. She responds to frustration in a very different way. The way that she responds to frustration is just flat out rebellion and almost like a mocking disrespect. Now, I can also see from a spiritual perspective, I see a spirit of rebellion there. So that's one thing that I do. I pray against that. But there's a rebellion and, like I said, almost like this mocking. And so I have learned how to ignore certain things because I have learned that if I give in to the behavior, if I give in to giving attention to the behavior, it makes it worse. Whereas when she knows she can't get a rise out of me, the behavior eventually dissipates and then she's on task. So, but it's taken me quite a while to learn some of these things about her. So every child is totally different. And you really just have to learn how best to work with some of those behaviors. But across the board, I have just seen in my years of education that the payoff, like when you take the time to slow down and have the conversation with the child and you can get to the root of why the behavior is happening, the payoff is totally worth the time that you have to pause in order to have those conversations. It's not worth pushing through and powering through and just trying to like force your way to the other side. And there's such a benefit to teaching children, first and foremost, how to be able to pinpoint what it is that they're feeling, why it is that they're feeling that, and then being able to communicate that. Like that turns into emotional intelligence down the road. And if you see the state of our world right now, you know that we could use more emotional intelligence. We have a lot of adults who not only don't know how to communicate, but often they don't even know what they're feeling or why they're feeling it. So I think that if we can start this young with young children, then, above all else, our children need Jesus. It's not like this takes the place of their need for Jesus, but it helps to give them tools in order to have a healthy relationship with those around them and to be able to model even to other people what it looks like to communicate. So that's what I have for you this week. I know this was a short episode. I just wanted to at least get something of some value out there and to let you guys know what's been going on, that I did not drop off the face of the earth. I am still here, and there will be more regular episodes. So that's it. Have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next week.
If this episode blessed you, please subscribe, comment, and share it with another parent who is trying to raise godly children in an ungodly world.